everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a little different. I'm going to be responding to the challenge that's been going around BookTube recently. It's the Ryan's Reading Rules for 2026 challenge. Now, I first discovered this while I was watching a video from a booktuber whose videos I really do enjoy. His name is Ben at Tilting of Tomes, and I saw him respond to this and I was like, ooh, this is interesting. I'm loving the rules that's been laid out and how, he was engaging them. And I thought I would give it a go. So I'm so excited to do so and to share with you my thoughts. Now, I will say, like anything that sparks conversation around reading, I'm here for. So I hope you're here for that too. I do want to say that I do not know Ryan. Ryan Holiday is his full name. I do not know him personally. I don't even know of him like socially online. I've never heard of him actually. I did do a little bit of research on him. He is a bookstore owner, which is great. I always wanted to be a bookstore owner. It might happen. You never know. Like, it could happen. He also is a person who has some expertise into marketing. So even him coming up with this list, hey, that's a great marketing thing. I'm not mad at him for that. He also is an avid reader. He actually describes himself as a professional reader, and he is a philosopher. So that's what I know about him. Um, so to tell you how I'm going to approach the questions, I thought it would be good to kind of frame like who I am to give you a little bit of context as to how I think about things when it comes to reading and books. So I am an avid reader of all kinds of books. I like all types of genres from all types of authors. I really do enjoy that. So I'm a very diverse reader. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. I'm also a lit major, and I just love talking about books, you guys. I love talking about books as much as I love reading them. I taught English both sixth grade through high school level, so I'm an educator. I'm still an educator because I still homeschool my kids and I teach them literature. So again, because I just like talking about books, I make my kids read books and talk about books with their mom. Yes, and it's quite fun. So I think like those. Oh, in addition to that, I'm also a senior editor at a publishing with a publishing company. So I have that kind of, I guess, view or role that I would say with books as well. So that's kind of my background. So that's how I will be engaging these 31 rules. So before I get into them, I want to say two things. Number one, off the top, I'm going to use the word rules, but I actually don't like the word rules. I think it's too restrictive. Instead, I would have loved different language instead of like Ryan's rules, maybe Ryan's, I don't know, convictions or Ryan's invitations, for reading in 2026. But I will be using rules because that's what he has presented to us. But I just want you to know my heart around that. I also am going to be linking his article in the show notes below so you can take a look at it at yourself. And I would love your responses. Leave it in the comment sections below. Second thing I want to say is that I am tagging some YouTubers that I follow faithfully, and I'm so interested in their feedback and what they think about these rules. So I am tagging Shelby in the Book Club. I'm tagging Book Nerd, Books and Things, and Brown Girl Reading. So hopefully they will do their own videos about this so that I can watch them. All right. Before I get started, please like this video if you haven't done so already. And if you also haven't done so already, hit subscribe. I hope I can get through this. I have been like running around because we're expecting a lot of snow. It is like a day before the snow is coming. So I'm a little giddy, you all. I've had a lot of caffeine, but okay, I think I'm ready. I think I can do it. All right. Okay, there's 31. Hang in there with me, okay? Okay. So, first thing is it's not enough that you read. You have to read well and you have to read the right books. So this first one is packed. It's two things. You have to read well and you have to read a lot of books or the right books. So this rule I have a problem with off the top. I'm going to say I'm 50-50 on this rule. I think that I do agree that you should read well. And so what I mean by that is this might ruffle some feathers out there, but that's okay. We can still get along. I think that reading well does matter. And when I mean reading well, I mean that you should read works of literature. When I mean literature, that doesn't mean every book. So every book that is written, even every book in my house, is not something that I would call literature. And I think that that's okay. And I don't think it takes anything away from the book. This is a very controversial topic, I know, but just hang on in there. Literature is works that endure over time. They're works that really do speak about and speak to the human condition in ways that are just evergreen, and they're also works that demand something of the reader. And not every work falls into that category and has that purpose, and that is 100% okay. If we think about it like food, we know that when we go to a restaurant, we have different phases of a meal. You have your appetizers, which are small bites. The appetizers are meant to entice, to kind of get the palate worked up. It's also meant to kind of be a bridge to help you have something in your stomach that you can nibble on while your main entree is being prepared, right? And so we get to that main entree. The plate is bigger. There is more food. There's usually representation of the different food groups, from carbs to protein and vegetables and maybe grains. It takes you a longer time to eat your entree. You might need the full use of all your utensils to do it. And then we move to dessert, and dessert is a whole different thing. Dessert is that sweetness. It's that special little ending. It's a smaller piece. It's on a smaller plate, and it uses different ingredients as well. And so I think that, having a good meal, you would have go through all the phases and have all of them. But a chocolate cake cannot do what an entree does. It's not its purpose, and that's okay. So when I say read well, the part that I agree with it, I think that people should read works of literature, that it should be in their diet, and that it shouldn't just be the appetizer or the dessert. In this case, I'm comparing literature obviously to the entree. What I disagree with this is when he uses the word write books. I give a lot of pause to this because, let's be honest, the right books, or what is worthy to read, has been determined through a very narrow gaze of white men historically, and even in our present. And so, this is something that, especially as a lit major and the work that I was required to read, and I enjoyed and respect those authors and their works, but it was so limited in terms of representation. It was really not diverse at all. And so I think that we have to be careful when we use the word right, because many, many works of literature that is substantive by African Americans and other minorities don't make the traditional list of what is right, or they're limited authors, those exceptional blacks or those exceptional people like Toni Morrison or Octavia Butler. And I respect both of those ladies, but there are so many more. And so I would just question what you think is right. I know I spent a long time on that one. I'm not going to spend as much time on the other ones, but I just wanted to say that because it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. We have to be mindful of the right book. So Ryan, if you ever watch this video, I would love for you, especially as a bookstore owner, because you are engaging with books in a different way, not just as a reader, I would love for you to define what right books mean to you. Okay, moving on to number two. And thank you if you do that, Ryan. Moving on to number two. You should always be carrying a book. For me, this is how I live my life. I do not go to the gas station without a book. I always have a book in a bag, a book on hand. I always have a book because I feel incomplete when I don't have one. But I think that if you are trying to be a reader, I would say that you do need to always carry a book. So I'm a reader. My husband is not a reader. And one of the things that I'm trying to get him into the habit of, because it's something that he wants to develop, is to always have a book with you. Because I think that some people have an idea that reading happens when you have like hours to just sit and read. And for a lot of people, reading happens within the little minutes of your day. I can get a page here, I can get a chapter in here. And so you never know when you're going to be given the opportunity to get a few pages in a line at the grocery store or at a doctor's office or something like that. So I would say, yes, you should always carry a book with you. It doesn't matter the form, right? It could be a hard book, copybook. It could be a Kindle, it could be on your phone, it can be Audible. Just have access to a book and pick up a book before you go to social media, right? And doom scroll. So I agree with that one. Okay, number 3. If you're not reading with a pen, you're really not reading. I disagree with this. I think that it is very limiting to a lot of people. So for me personally, I always read with a pen. So my nightstand has a stack of books and a bunch of pens because I have to have a pen in order to read. That's what I do. Let me just silence my phone here, guys. But I would not say that that's something that everybody has to do. Hold on one second. Power that baby off. Power off. Okay. I would not say that that's something that everyone has to do because I would much rather people just to read than feel like that they have to read and study. For me, I don't feel like it's taking me out of the book to always have a pen because I'm always that's how I engage. I'm annotating the book. I'm having this conversation, and I write stuff all over. I love language, so if I come across something delicious, I need to know it. I need to note it. But if you're not doing that, it doesn't mean that you're not reading or you're not reading well. So I disagree with this one. Number 4, books are not precious things. Beat them up. So I think Ryan and I have a lot in common as far as how we personally engage with books. Again, for me, I say yes, this holds true. I do not treat books as precious things, and I do beat them up. But I also think that this has a little bit of privilege in them because I also own a lot of the books that I read. I purchase them, so they're mine to do with what I want. And because I'm used to writing in books and annotating them, I've never treated them as precious things. And my teachers are like, do not treat them as precious things, really engage them. And I pass that along with my girls, and so they do the same thing. But for people, when you're reading a book that is not yours, maybe you borrowed it from a friend or you borrowed it from the library, you don't want to beat that book up, or you don't want to, write in it, or maybe put the ear flaps down or anything like that. But it doesn't mean that you're not engaging with the book. So I think what he's getting at in this rule is engage the book, maybe, and don't be afraid to really engage it. So that part I do agree with. I had a friend in college who would write her notes on post-it notes and put it in the book. So the book copy was clean, it wasn't marked in at all, but it was filled with post-it notes. And then when she was done, she would take all of them out. And it was like brilliant to me. So that was a way of her engaging the book, but the book wasn't beat up. So I think that there's more than one way to do it. And I think we also have to be mindful of whether or not, you own the book to be able to quote unquote beat it up. Okay, next, spilling food on your book is a sign of respect. This one made me laugh. I think he put this rule in here just for some, lightheartedness, and it definitely did that to me because I was like, oh, Ryan, we like again, I think we have a lot in common as readers. I always spill food on my books. I don't mean to. I'm not trying to, but y'all, I'm a messy eater, and when I get into a book, I'm just so focused that eating is the secondary thing that I'm focused on, and reading is the primary thing, and that results in me spilling. So yes, and you know what? I refuse to feel shame about it. It is what it is. It is what it is. 9 times out of 10, if I give you a copy of one of my books, well, one, it's going to have my writing in it, and two, I can guarantee you there's going to be a tea or coffee stain somewhere. Like just absolutely. If you can read and eat, some people just I'm amazed at how they just eat and it's so refined and there is no mess. Good for you. But if you are like me and you happen to like make a little mess, don't feel bad about yourself. Okay, next one is forget the news, read old books to understand the world. So I disagree with this one. And I think that the two actual thoughts don't really work well together because it says forget the news. So don't watch the news, read old books to understand the world. I just don't think that they actually can like go together in their thoughts. So I disagree. Why I disagree is I think it's very important for people to watch the news, for them to do their best to watch news that is actual news and to get a variety of different perspectives. And I think that that's harder to do as algorithms are, really tailoring themselves to what we, our interests are and our beliefs. So we have to work harder at it, is my point. Being an informed citizen means that you can actually make informed decisions and take informed actions. And that to me is very important. Where I do agree with this statement, the part that I do agree is that books help us understand the world. So, what books can provide us is they can provide us perspective, wisdom, encouragement, strategy, emotions, and I think that that's really important. So, I see books more not they are not able to say this is what's happening in your world today, but what they are able to do is they are able to be tutors to us. But they are not substituting the news that's happening in our world in the present. Okay, next one, reread books. Absolutely agree with this one. I think one of the things that you should do is you should reread books. My father, I remember when in high school, he came in and my were covered with bookcases that I would find at thrift stores. I loved getting bookcases from thrift stores, and they're just filled and overflowing with books. And he was sat down on my bed and he looked and he was like, "Why do you have to keep all your books? Like, can't we give some of them away?" And I was like, oh, "No, absolutely not." And he's like, "Well, what do you do with them?" I was like, "Well, Dad, I reread them, you know?" And so, and I don't think he ever like considered that I actually would reread the books. Every time you come to a book, you're coming to that book different because you're a different person. Your life has been shaped and altered. I am not the same me that I was even last week. I'm a little different, right? Life has happened. And I do believe because books are art, right? That they always have something to give to you, always something fresh and new to provide, and to give something to think about. And that's why it's really important to reread books. Now, also as a literature major and as an English teacher specifically, I taught the same book several times. And every time I taught the book, Great Expectation comes to mind. I read it each time that I taught it in a new book, you guys. Yes, I did that. I did that. And then I have my old books. And I like to compare my notes, like what I noticed from when I read it like the first or the fifth time to when I was reading it now. That's what I like to do. So I would say to reread books. I also keep a reading journal. And it's really interesting when I reread books, I'll go back and find my reading journal because it gives me insight into like who I was then and what I was thinking and what I was wrestling with and what stood out. It's a way to inform me about me and not just the world that I live in, but about myself. And it's been really, really helpful practice for me to do that. So when you can, reread a book. Okay, next, rereading is the best way out of a reading slump. I 100% disagree with this. I think reading is so personal that there isn't a one way or a best way. I think that it's what works for you. And let's be honest, the only people that really get in reading slumps are people, that are like the person talking about reading, like that's what I want to talk about, and people watching these videos probably like we're readers, right? So readers are the ones that get into reading slumps. One of the ways that works for me, rereading old works, it doesn't do it for me. When I'm in a reading slump, going to a bookstore, oh, especially like a really cute bookstore, and just walking in, being around the energy of like my book people, and finding a quirky, new, odd book that I never would buy. I never like it's nothing like anything that I have. That's what gets me out of a reading slump. But for other people, it could be watching TV, or it could be rereading books, or it could be writing. So I don't think that there's like one best thing. I think that there are several ways, and I think the thing that matters is that you just find what works for you and you do it so you can get back to reading. Next, don't be a book snob. I think that this one was hilarious when I read it because I really feel like this whole list is a bit snobbish. And the fact that there is a list is kind of like a little snobbish, but I 100% agree with this. Like, do not be a book snob at all. Book snobbery is unnecessary, it is unkind, and it does not attract more people into the book world space. And that's what we want, right? We want people to read more books and to join us. And the one thing that turns them off is when we're kind of aloof or a little snobbery about it, because it's intimidating. So don't do it. Just stop. Next is never read without taking extracts. Now, this one I do agree with. So, what an extract is, it's like a quote or idea or observation that you get from a book. And I always, always, always do this. And I think that most people do and can. How you do it can look very differently. So, one of the things I mentioned is that I keep a reading journal. So, I will write down quotes in my reading journal and stick them in there because I want to remember it. But you don't have to write it down, right? You don't have to journal it. That's not what you have to do. Sometimes you just read something, a quote, or you make an observation and it just stays with you, right? You're able to carry that with you as you move throughout your life. And I think that that is the important thing. I think that when you are reading something, try to look for something that you can take with you, be it a line, a word, a situation, a solution, a character, right? Something that you can take with you to help you as you live your life. I think that books serve us. I believe that books are medicine. And so every time you read a book, it's like you're taking some medicine, and you want to make sure that you're really taking the medicine with you. Okay, if a book sucks, stop reading it. Yeah, I agree with this, with a condition. I think that you can do this if it is a pleasure book. But if it is an academic book or something that you have to read, let's say it's related to your work, then I disagree. Finish it. But for pleasure readings, yes, if it's not serving you, stop. And that doesn't mean that the book will never serve you. There are several books that I've started and I was just like, oh, I'm not in the emotional space for this. Or it wasn't serving me at that moment. But it doesn't mean that I won't come back to it in another space and season in my life. Another related rule to the one that we just talked about is 100 pages minus your age is what you should read before you drop a book. I disagree with this 100%. I think that you should trust yourself as a reader to know when you've had enough and you want to put it down. Enough said. Next is good writers, excuse me, are not hard to read. This one I have a question mark by because I would have liked Ryan to kind of explain more what he meant by hard. So the way that I'm interpreting this might be different from his intentions, and I'm fine with that and open with that. But I'm going to respond based on how I interpreted this, and I'm going to say I disagree. Some of my favorite writers demand a lot from me. They are hard. Edwaji Dantakat is one of them, and she says that she writes for dangerous readers, and that's definitely me. So hard doesn't mean bad. Hard means worthy. And I do think that good writers write hard books. Um, but if he's talking about the other type of hard, maybe like maybe the writing is not good, right? Like bad, like they're bad, so they're hard to read. Then I would agree with that. One way I disagree, one way I agree. And I think that good writers are writers that really work on their craft. They see it as a craft, they take it seriously, and they work on it as a craft. And I think that makes all the difference. You can really tell when a writer has really worked their craft. A long book must justify itself. 100% agree with this. Absolutely. Your words need to count because they take up space. But I also would say equally that a short book needs to justify itself. Next is ask people what book changed their life. I live by this rule. I am always asking people. I don't care if I meet you for 5 minutes or if I've known you for a long time. I'm going to ask you, what book have you read? Or what book changed your life? Or what book had the most impact on you? I would just say ask people about the books that they've read. You get a lot of great titles and book ideas when you ask this question. I will ask everybody. One of the books that I really enjoyed this year, and then I actually read the other book, actually came to me when I was in Ohio checking into the hotel, and the receptionist, as he was checking me in, we got to talking, and he mentioned this book that he was reading, and I was like, oh, tell me more about that. And he really recommended it. I went out the next day and I bought it, and it was one of my favorite reads of 2025. So ask everybody, don't be shy. Okay, cool titles usually make for bad books. I disagree with this because I just don't think that I have the data to so I'm just going to say I disagree. I have read books with great titles that have been great. I've read books with great titles that have been bad, and vice versa, and everything in between. So I disagree with this one. Next is judge a book by its cover. Kind of. I 100% disagree with this one as well. I think of cover art of books as a whole separate thing. As a whole, I really think of it as art, and it's a whole separate thing. I do not make a decision about a book necessarily that I'm reading unless I'm doing a fun thing, which I sometimes do, which is like I just randomly go in and then I play these games with myself, and I'll say, today I'm gonna, pick up only books that have yellow in their cover jacket. I will do those things, or books that only have green in it. I like to play these games. They work for me. But I'm not judging the art. It's more like something about like an attribute that I'm going to look for that particular shopping day. And in those cases, I don't do anything but follow whatever rule I put in place for myself. But for the most part, when I'm shopping for books, I don't rely on the cover art to be an indicator. I don't even read the summary at the back. What I do is I just open the book and I read the first couple of paragraphs, and either it grabs me or it doesn't. And that's really how I make my determination. Next, look for wisdom, not facts. 100% agree with this. Absolutely. 100%. Next is know what you will do with this information, the information that you'll get from a book. And so this one is, I agree with this. I think that you should read with maybe an expectation of learning something, but you shouldn't read with an expectation of having to implement, right? Again, it depends on your purpose for reading. Maybe if you're reading a self-help book, well, you pick that book because you do want to move towards implementation. But I'm talking more of fiction, pleasure books. I don't think that that is necessarily a requirement. Okay. Next is find your next book in the footnotes. So I'm going to say that this is a great thing to do, especially for nonfiction books. It's a lot easier. I think that it's just a wise thing to do. I wouldn't say it's a have to do, but it's a makes sense to do. And you will find that authors have fans, they have people that have mentored them and that they've studied along the way, and that has influenced their writing and their voice and even what they write about. So if you come across a writer that you're like, oh, I really like, their style or what they write about, then I would say, do a little research, maybe find out what writers inspire them or what they're reading. It might be a great way for you to find your next great read. Obviously, if it's nonfiction, it's easier to do because you can just, yes, go to the footnotes. Okay, next is read everything an author writes. I disagree with this one as a rule because I think that some authors write just romance stories that are a certain way, and that's all they write. Some authors write, I write romance, I write nonfiction, I write historical fiction. Their writing varies, and you might just like the, historical fiction books that a particular writer writes. So I would say, no, you don't have to read everything an author writes, but if you want to, that's great. But there's no rule or no have to. I don't think, that you do that. An author that I have read everything that they have written is Dickens. I love Dickens. I'm a huge Dickens fan. And yeah, so that's why I wanted to read everything he wrote. And I've read several of his works multiple times. My favorite Dickens book is Our Mutual Friend. If you haven't read it, look it up. Okay. Next is if you want to buy a book, if you want a book, buy it. Don't worry about the price. Now, Ryan, I'm going to disagree with this one. I say if you want a book, find it. And we're just going to leave it at there. So I think I understand why he did this. I mean, he is a bookstore owner, so it works to his advantage if people are buying books, and I get this. But I think that this rule speaks a lot about privilege. You have to have the privilege, you have to have the money to actually buy the books. They're not cheap. I mean, compared to other hobbies, yes, but they're actually not cheap, and they're just getting more expensive. I mean, I think a hard book right now is about $30, and that's significant, especially if you plan to buy multiple books. So I would say that privilege is what rules this rule for him, because it's not possible for everyone to buy every book that they want. It is not possible. Thank goodness that we have libraries and that they provide access for people to get books, and also things like free libraries and book swaps and things of that nature. Those are really great things. So I do agree that reading is essential. So if you want it, yes, find a way to get that book. But I think about access and equality first. So that's why I disagree with that one. Speed reading is a scam. I found wow, this is interesting. I 100% disagree with this. I speed read. So I don't think it's a scam. I think that speed reading is a skill, and I don't think that it's a bad skill to have. I employ speed reading under certain circumstances. So if I'm reading something for work or definitely in college and I have a ton of stuff to get through, there are times when I will employ that skill, but I'm not speed reading all the time. I don't speed read my pleasure books, but I can. It is a skill and it's not a scam. So again, disagree. Next is focus on why, not what. I think that it's always great to ask the question why as you're traveling and working your way through a book, but I also think that what is also an important thing to note or to notice. And so I think that between the two, the why is more significant. It is more impactful. The why is going to point you to themes and things that you can take away, ideas, right, that you are going to take away with you. And so, well, yes, as I'm talking, I do agree with this one that the why is the thing that you should focus on, but the what is still like you still need to kind of be grounded maybe in the what. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Your nightstand should be ambitious. Yes, it should. Let's put away the phones at night. Let's pull out a book and let's read, guys. It should be ambitious. Like, stack up your nightstand. Let it just be something that's like when you approach the evening, you're like, "Ooh, look at this stack of books." I have about 5 books. I'm looking at my nightstand right now of books. I don't know when I'm going to read them, but I love the fact that they're there, like waiting for me and calling my name. And then I'm like, "Oh, which one, should I start? Which one am I going to give time with right now?" Yes. Next is read writers you disagree with. I 100% agree with this. Absolutely. I definitely think that you should read writers that don't think like you. It is a way of diversifying your bookshelf. And it goes with the next rule where he says, if you only agree, you're not reading diversely. So, enough said. Absolutely agree with this. Next, don't settle for just for the gist. Like, just for like, I kind of understand. I 100% agree with this. Like, go for understanding. Go for the good stuff. Like, go for the good stuff. And oftentimes that means that you're wrestling. You have to wrestle with it. Maybe you have to reread a sentence or a paragraph. Maybe you have to flip back and like figure out like, okay, what's going on? Wrestle with it. One of the best ways you can wrestle with work, with literature, is by having dialogue about it, by having conversations with it. I think I love talking about books just as much as I love reading them, because when I'm talking to a fellow human being about a book, I'm getting a different perspective, and that I don't have or that I may not have. And it just makes the book come alive in different and brighter ways. And it leaves me with a lot more things to think about. And that is so rewarding. So I definitely agree with this one. Next, good things happen in bookstores. Yes, 100% agree. Until I get to the register, everything is good about what happens in a bookstore. Whenever I get to the register, I'm always like dick on it and surprised. And I don't think I've ever like kept to my budget. Oh, I did once when I was in Ohio, and that was because you guys, I brought cash. I left my card in the car, and I was like, when I run out of this cash, that's it, and it did work. So I need to like do that more often. But I just love bookstores. I love everything about it. I love the smell of the books. I love the quirky people that work there that really just want you to leave them alone, kind of, and they just want to sit and read a book. I love the smell of coffee. I love the way that the books are on tables, and I just love the care that also books receive in bookstores and how they're displayed. I really love reading the notes from the staff that works there, like staff favorites, that's become a popular thing. I love everything about it. I could spend hours in bookstores. Yes, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So, absolutely agree. Okay, next, we're almost at the end. Don't skip prefaces. I agree with this, kind of. I think it depends on what you're reading for, like the purpose of the reading. If I'm doing academic reading or reading for work, I always do read it because I'm in more of a research mindset. But if I'm reading for fiction, I normally don't do it because I like to enter a book blind. I like to have all the lights off because I like that detective thing in me to be able to come out and kind of like, okay, figure things out. And sometimes the prefaces and forewords give away a little bit too much information, more information that I really want to have at that point. But I usually do go back and I read it once I'm finished. Next, and this is the last one, and we end the last one on a really good one, which is if a book is good, pass it on. This is so important, you guys. Like, I love giving books away. I love gifting books. I love putting my books in the free libraries. I love putting my books in the hands of people that I know. I will order books for people and they will show up at their house like they didn't even know they were getting a book. I love passing on books. So I 100% agree with this. And I would add to this that don't only recommend the book, the work, but also recommend the author. Somehow, like, find a way to shine some light on the author if you have read a book that you like. It takes a lot to write a book, to get it from just an idea, like a concept, into a thing that's tangible that we can hold in our hands and in our heart. And it's also, I would imagine, because I've never done it, a very emotional process as well. And it's very risky. And so I am just in a space and season in my life where I'm really trying to be more mindful and consistent with encouraging writers. So you can go on their webpage and put in a comment, or their socials and really put in a comment. I think all of that helps a lot and that they're really appreciative of it. Those are ways that you can just really kind of pay tribute to the author themselves. I think that really, really matters. So do that. Okay, we have made it through all 31 rules. This has been longer than I anticipated. Thanks for hanging out with me. Please let me know what rules you liked. What did you agree with? What did you absolutely, I do not agree with? I want to know in the comment section below. And again, if you have not yet done so, please hit that subscribe button so we can stay connected. And when I make a video, you're sure to know it. And if you've enjoyed this video, please also hit the like button. Thanks again for hanging out with me. I'm getting ready for Snowmageddon. I live in the DC area, so we are, I think the last thing that they said we were going to get between 18 and 23 inches. It keeps changing. But I have gone to the grocery store, done all the things, and I'm just praying that if we do get a lot of snow, that the power stays on. So I hope that you are safe and warm wherever you are watching this. Take care of yourself as always, and remember that reading is medicinal, writing is witness, and books keep us human. Until next time, guys. Bye.